So if you have to shoot with natural light, the next step in the evolutionary process is a reflector. You know what? I actually shoot the Westcott and Photo Basic, make a bunch of them. I use the Photo Basic ones, which are, you know, like a subline of Westcott, but they come in packs of 2. There's diffusion material on there. There's silver for high output. There's a white for a subtle fill. You can even, there's a black one that actually is good for a subtractive lighting. I saw it here somewhere. Oh, it's right under there. Can you pass me the little black cloth? Awesome. Something like this. And this is actually used to build shadows. So what happens when I bring this in? To create that shadow. So they are really, really, really versatile. Essentially, you're getting like 6 different lights in a little foldable package that I put like on a little carabiner and hang from the side of my camera bag. So it's always with me. So definitely check that out. So I had a question on what do you think about the gold reflector? A solid gold, I think sometimes is a little bit over the top for my personal taste. It warms it up a lot. But there's some reflectors out there that have a little silver and a gold weave kind of mixed in there. And those I love because you get the high output of this. See how we're very easy to bring a lot of light underneath there, but it also warms it up a little bit too. So we might be getting here towards noon where our light is getting a little cooler in color temperature, and say I want it to look like that warm light in the middle, like the bright first thing in the morning, I would bring in maybe a little mix of silver and gold underneath there, and you get this little warm kick under there to kind of add a little more warmth to the image.
Would you do the opposite in the sunset?
Correct. But I'm going to have our model step back over here under our light again. So you're going to notice a difference here. I'm going to talk about light for a second, but we're working with models. So when we're working with models, it's not the same thing as photographing like a flower or a shoe or a product. How many people do landscapes? How much coaxing do you have to do with that landscape to get a good emotion out of it? Not a whole bunch, right? I'll tell you what, the easiest thing to do to put someone at ease, especially if you're like in a business environment, is to let them play with the phone that's been vibrating in their pocket for the last 15 minutes while you were fiddling with your lights. Whatever it is that makes them feel comfortable, it's probably not going to be in the final photo, but for the first couple photos, I'm comfortable, I'm moving around, okay, now I put that away, now we've already got a rapport and an energy going, so now I can carry on that good look. It's easy to get. And then we show our model, and she's like, oh, that's a good shot. This guy or girl knows what they're doing. Okay, I can trust them. Now I'm going to give them a little bit more. And that's how you do it. You build confidence incrementally throughout your shoot. Because if I'm focusing on her eyes, and then I'm going to have you turn left. No, not with your whole body. Wait, sorry. I'm giving horrible direction in here, and this is what I do for a living. I apologize. Okay, what do I do when I direct models? Because I forgot to introduce myself. I'm going to work in 3 planes. So I'm going to ask my model to keep in mind her hips, her shoulders, and her face. And then you give direction independently. So that way when you're like with your model, you're like, okay, look left, and everything goes left, that's my fault. So if I'm like, okay, so I'm going to direct just hips, shoulders, and face, and just have you move your face over to the left or the right. See how she did that? That's me doing my job. If there's miscommunication right off the bat, that's my fault as a photographer. So you need to make sure that you establish like how you're going to work together and how you're going to give direction so that things go smoothly. Because you don't want to go ahead and break like a good rhythm that you've got when you're getting good photos. So back to the question with the macro. If I've got you looking straight ahead again, so I'll have you focus this way. And I'm focused here, and then she turns, and I have a super shallow depth of field, nothing's in focus anymore. I'm in focusing on her ear, which is not what I want. So you have to be really careful. And you've got your shutter speed controls your ambient light in a room, and your aperture controls your flash output. And people think those are it's a scale game. Well, we have ISO. In between every shot, I can put my ISO up and down, so all of a sudden we have a triangle, and I can go through a whole shoot without ever having to touch my speed light, because I'm controlling stuff with ISO, aperture, and shutter speed. So ISO, I bounce all over the place. You really have to shake the chains of being stuck on a certain ISO value. So go up and down. I mean, I had someone, how many people went on a photo walk? Okay, cool. How many people went on my photo walk? We got a couple here. Okay, cool. Well, afterwards, we're passing around my camera, and someone was asking, like, why are you 320 here and 640 here and 1600 here and 1250? They thought I was just like crazy because they're like, I'm going through your EXIF data and all your ISOs are skewed. And I'm just, for that reason, I would go somewhere and I needed a fast shutter speed, so I crank my ISO and then back down. Like ISO is a loose variable as shutter speed and aperture is to us now because the technology is there. The cameras are that good. You don't like our Miami high contrast lighting going on here? All right, cool. I'm going to turn on this light right here and set up a whole different lighting setup for you guys, all right? To get hard light, what creates hard light?
Point source.
Point source, yes. So a small light source. And how do we combat that? How do we take our hard light and make it a softer light?
Diffuse it.
Diffuse it? Diffuse is a common answer. When you diffuse light, what you do is you basically take that light, which creates a spectral highlight, which is that big white spot on my greasy forehead, and that smooths that over with diffusion. But how we create a softer light is by making it larger and moving it in closer to our subject matter. She keeps moving around. She's making me work here. There we go. So I'm going to turn that back on because one, it's on a light stand, but two, remember to make softer light, we need to make it larger. So this is a great starting point, but I don't shoot like this all the time. I prefer to use the different soft boxes and stuff we've got. So I'm going to turn this guy back on. So perfect. And you know what? This is really important, guys. Keep this in mind when you're working with your model. This takes a 3x1 very narrow strip of light and makes it even more narrow. Everyone look into the light. You can see the light source. Very quickly, you guys can't see the light source. You see how very small that field of light is right there? If I take this off, you guys can see the light source? Yeah. You can still see it, 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 still see it. That's messy. Like, light's going everywhere. Like, if I'm trying to light my model here, you're still getting some light on it. So by taking this grid in here, we're really focusing our beam just where we want it to go. Switches. Perfect. So this is still our main light, and now we have a rim light or a separation light. And then you see what this is doing? This is separating her from the background. Now she's got beautiful light on the front, but she kind of fades into black. Now she's separated from the background. So this is great because what we're doing basically is we're taking a beautiful three-dimensional subject and we're smashing them into a 2D space on the back of our camera. So as portrait lighting photographers, our job is to use this light to mold them and make them three-dimensional again. So that when we look at that photo, we're not looking at a flat cutout of a model, we're looking at a model. Sneak around. All right, whose quarter did I steal? I like these because it's so much easier. I set them up and I can just like almost have my brain meld over and still get good photos because what you see is what you get. Like now I know I'm going to get a shadow, and I'll have you turn the light just a little bit more with your face, just a little bit more. Boom, now I know I have a good shot. Whereas if I have a strobe, I'm always looking at the back of my camera praying the next photo is still properly exposed